So let's talk about a figure who has pretty much defined a generation in Pakistan, Imran Khan. He's a man who inspires just fierce loyalty and, at the same time, equally fierce opposition. His story is really about turning every single obstacle into a stepping stone, which, brings us to the very heart of his complex identity.
And that really is the big question, isn't it? For millions, especially young people, he's this incredible symbol of hope and rebellion. But for others, he's a cautionary tale, a story of a huge opportunity that was just squandered. So, which is it? Is he a hero or a flawed leader? The truth, as we're about to see, is probably somewhere in the tension between the two.
To really get a handle on his impact, you've got to go back to the beginning, way before he ever stepped into the political arena. This is where the foundation of the legend was built, where he completely captured the imagination of an entire generation. What's so fascinating here is this pattern that starts to take shape. First, you have the 1992 World Cup victory. I mean, that was a moment of just pure national joy, and it was all led by Captain Khan. Then he builds the Shaka Khanum Cancer Hospital on donations when literally everyone said it was impossible. And finally, his lonely entry into politics in '96, when, let's be honest, a lot of people just dismissed him. Each step built this reputation of a guy who takes on impossible odds and wins. And that reputation, that was the launchpad for his whole political promise of a Naya Pakistan, a new Pakistan. And it wasn't just some catchy slogan. It was a real vision. It was built on a hardcore anti-corruption stance, ambitious social welfare programs, and, maybe most importantly, it told young people that they were the key to the future. It was this powerful message of empowerment, dignity, and defiance against the old guard. But this is where things get complicated, right? Was his refusal to back down from these powerful interests a sign of incredible courage, or was it just ego? Was his unwavering vision a strength, or was it a kind of stubbornness that just shut the door on any compromise? This conflict right here is absolutely key to understanding his leadership. Because, let's be real, his time in power was anything but a smooth ride. It was a total battlefield, defined by immense pressures and deep, deep controversies that tested his vision at every single turn. The first huge challenge was the economy. He walked into office with a looming financial crisis, forcing him to make these really tough and deeply unpopular austerity decisions that immediately put his government on the back foot. And at the very same time, the political landscape was just frozen. His government was locked in this constant state of Cold War with the opposition parties, which led to total gridlock and made getting anything done incredibly difficult. Then came the friction with Pakistan's powerful military establishment. What started out as something of a partnership began to fray over time, and it eventually led to a very public, very high-stakes showdown. And all of this really comes to a head with his ouster from power, which he framed as the result of a foreign conspiracy. This narrative, this idea of outside interference, it became a powerful, powerful rallying cry for all his supporters. But here's the thing. Despite all those challenges, his connection with his base never really broke. He framed the entire struggle with these powerful slogans like Hakiki Azadi, or true freedom, and in doing so, he turned a political battle into this emotional movement for national sovereignty. And the effect, honestly, was electric. His words weren't just political talking points. They were a call to action. Every single speech was infused with the sense of rebellion against the old system, and that resonated so deeply with young people who were just hungry for change. Okay, so he had this powerful voice. But was that enough? This next section is all about digging into that gap between the vision and how it was actually executed, framing the strategic mistakes as some pretty important lessons for the next generation of leaders. So what are the big lessons here? Well, first, there's over-idealism, this belief that just having good intentions could somehow overcome a political system that's built on numbers and alliances. Second, a confrontational style that picked battles that maybe just couldn't be won. The lesson, knowing when to fight, is crucial. Third, team selection. It's tough to build a new Pakistan when your team includes a lot of old political faces. And finally, the economy. A stark reminder that popularity just can't survive without real, tangible performance. And you start to see this pattern, right? This theme that kept coming up during his time in power. Choosing confrontation when maybe diplomacy would have worked better, and speaking out when perhaps strategic silence could have been way more powerful. It's a huge lesson in political temperament. All right, so that brings us to the big finale. How do we square these two sides of him, the hero and the flawed leader? This final section is all about bringing it together to try and understand the complex and, really, the enduring legacy he leaves behind. When you strip everything else away, his story, despite all its political complexities, offers this one simple, incredibly powerful message: resilience. This idea that real failure isn't about falling down, but about refusing to get back up, that is perhaps the most profound lesson for a generation of his followers. So, if you're part of this new generation, what are you supposed to take away from all this? Well, the source material suggests a few things. First, learn to value wisdom just as much as courage. Second, understand that principles without a solid, practical plan, they're just ideas. And third, recognize that while popularity is temporary, it's tangible performance that creates lasting change.
And that's his lasting message, isn't it? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if he's in prison or in power. His message to the youth stays consistent and powerful, and it's all wrapped up in this one idea. If I did not bow down, you should not bow down either. It's a legacy not of political wins or losses, but of an unbreakable spirit.
So I'll leave you with this question. Imran Khan's entire story is one of turning challenges into strengths, from the cricket pitch all the way to the political arena. So I want you to look at your own life and ask yourself, what challenge will you turn into your strength?